I know that I'm probably gonna get ate up by this in the comment sections, but I really don't care because it's the truth. And a lot of y'all need to admit to yourselves that restrictive eating disorders are fat phobic. Like, y'all really be coming up on social media or just in real life talking about everybody's body's beautiful while being on your third day not eating. Like, that doesn't make no sense. If everybody's body is beautiful, how come yours isn't? How come fat people isn't? Because what you're is being fat. You're scared of being fat. You think fat people are disgusting. You think fat people are ugly and you don't want to be fat. So you restrict yourself from eating because you think fat people are disgusting and don't deserve to live. Like, y'all will legitimately feel like you want to end your life because you don't want to be fat. That doesn't seem fat phobic to you? It doesn't? Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chelsea, and for today's video we're gonna be discussing the title. So you know the title, so you know what we're gonna be discussing. So let me just be clear, I'm just gonna put like trigger warnings or just content warnings about eating disorders, suicide, fat phobia, maybe anti-blackness, but yeah, I think those are the content warning or trigger warnings. Yeah, let's just get started. Okay, so I made the video that you guys just saw on TikTok, right? And like I said, I knew people were gonna eat me up because people don't like to internally think of why they have whatever they have. And the comments, y'all can still see the comments if y'all want to go on my TikTok. I don't care. But it picked up heat because I was getting hate from another video that I did, which was literally not that deep. All I said was non-black people shouldn't overline their lip with a black or a brown lip and then put on a gloss on because they look bad, and it isn't necessary for them, like, reasonably. And niggas were getting mad, and then they came onto that video because I recently posted that video, and then they started hating on me, talking about I'm a satire thing, like a satire poster, and just I don't make sense, da, 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 da. I really don't care. Y'all are non-blacks. I'm not gonna argue with y'all. My experiences aren't the same as you all, and y'all, I can't be bothered. I can't be bothered to argue with non-blacks. I just can't. Y'all can pick up a book, pick up Google, pay me first. Like, I really don't care. Like, I'm making this video just to like flesh out my thoughts. I'm not saying that I am 100% correct or that I am unwilling to learn. I just want to flesh out my ideas or whatever, or just ideas that I've heard that I agree with, you know? So yeah. So like I said, eating disorders are mostly rooted in fat phobia. Like, it is what it is. Like, you can't just sit here and not tell me that eating disorders aren't rooted from these violent diet culture games, just fat phobia as a general system. Like, you just can't sit here and tell me in your heart that it just isn't, because I've had multiple people in my comments talk about, oh, you guys you're gaslighting people with eating disorders, you don't like them, you want to make them feel bad, da, 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 da. That is not my preface. I want to make sure y'all know that what you're doing has a systemic violence. Like, you can't just sit here and not tell me that like eating disorders aren't violent. Like, they are so violent, especially against fat people. Like, let's talk about the fact that fat people aren't even taken seriously when they have an eating disorder. So like, how is that not even violent? You know what I'm saying? How is that not rooted in fat phobia? Because they see a fat person and they're like, oh, you can't be starving yourself. Oh, you can't be bulimic. Da, da, da. You can only be, you can only have the type of eating disorder where you just eat, like, you just continuously eat, which is also rooted in fat phobia in some way or shape and form. Like, everything is interconnected. So you acting like, oh, it's just because the biggest thing that these people, I'm not even doing my makeup at this point. Like, the biggest thing that these people in my comments keep saying is that eating disorders is a mental illness and da da da. I'm not saying that it isn't, but I'm also not saying that it can't also be rooted in fat phobia. Like, two things can coexist. Two things can be true. Like, you're not gonna tell me and sit here and tell me that you were born and then boom, you decided to starve yourself just because. Like, no, no. It's the same thing as depression. Like, yes, you have a chemical imbalance. I'm not knocking that. I'm not saying that that isn't real. But also, depression can be caused through your way of life. Like, if you're poor, you're more likely to be more depressed. If you're sick, you're more likely to be more depressed. If whatever financial, family, whatever systemic place you are in society can cause illnesses. Like, I'm not knocking that. So you have to discuss those systems. You have to try to abolish those systems. And then hopefully those mental illnesses aren't gonna be as prominent and prevalent in society. So, like, if you guys want to act like eating disorders aren't rooted in fat phobia, when are we ever gonna abolish that? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me, you know? Like, what I found the people in my comment section is, I've already said this, but they don't want to admit to themselves that they're contributing. Not like contributing. I mean, kind of contributing, but also like not really. I don't know how to word that correctly, but they don't want to admit that they're perpetrating the idea of fat phobia. Like, how can you sit here and be like, oh my gosh, everybody's body's beautiful, but not mine because I'm so fat. And then you look at them and they're not even fat. And it's like, yes, body dysmorphia is a thing, but why is body dysmorphia caused? Like, why do you, in your head, think to yourself that you look fat and that fat equates ugly? And therefore, you must starve yourself, or that you must overeat because you're fat anyway, so might as well just keep looking ugly. Why you must equate that as a horrible, disgusting thing? That's my thing. Like, why don't you evaluate that? Why don't you think to yourself, instead of just staying on surface level of being like, no, I'm just mentally ill, and that's it, and that's where it stops. Like, you don't go deeper into how you just hate fat people. Like, you can be fat and hate fat people. Like, it can work. So don't sit here and talk about, you hate skinny people. Girl, please. I don't even think about y'all. Y'all are annoying. Like, if y'all don't go and dismantle fat phobia for me, I really couldn't care less. Like, but yeah, as I was saying, like, how can you sit here and be like, everybody's body's beautiful, da 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 da, and then be wanting to K-word yourself because you're fat? Like, what is that message? What is that message to you? Like doesn't that, like, please do some reevaluation and tell me that that doesn't scream fat phobia to you. That doesn't scream that when I see a fat person, I think they should end their life. Please tell me you're not that dense that you don't see what you're saying, thinking, and living. Like, and like what the title says, you want to just be skinny not because you want to be healthy, you want to be skinny because you're fat phobic. Like, who says that you can't be healthy while being fat? Like the parameter or the meter or the way that fatness is measured is not something that I care for in the health system, because it is entirely anti-black. Like, the way that they measure fat people's bodies, and just especially fat black bodies, is a whole different ball game than non-black people's. And so they measure, I don't know how to really explain it, because like I don't know how to get my words out, but what I'm trying to say is that the BMI test is extremely racist against, is anti-black. Yeah, not racist, anti-black. So we just need to throw that shit out. And these people um that claim to want the best for fat people, and that they're just looking out for them, so they should work out and eat better. Da, 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 da. They don't take into account the person's class. Therefore, they don't take into account how they may access um, better food. All food is good if you eat it in the right quantity. Okay, so I'm gonna need y'all to like change the way y'all view food, because that's how you get eating disorders if you have a bad relationship with food, also rooted in fat phobia. Why you call it junk food? Why can't you just eat it in moderate quantities? Like also, let me just go back to my point. They don't take into account how in a lot of black communities there's food deserts, how they can't access fresh fruits and vegetables. And if you're like, oh, why don't you garden? Who has time for that when you're working a 9 to 5 jobs? Twice, because people have to work multiple jobs to stay afloat. And also environmental racism is a thing, so most places can't have gardens. And talking about, oh, you need to go to the gym. How you have time to go to the gym when you're working 1, 2, 3 jobs at a time? When do you have time for that? Most parents are lucky if they get to sit down and eat dinner with their families. Most times they have to eat out, quick fast foods, because that's what they, one, afford, two, have time for. Nobody, especially in this capitalistic society, nobody has time to sit down and relax if you're more of a marginalized person. And most of the time this is coming from white vegans, just white people mostly, or just non-blacks, saying all that stuff to fat black people, when that isn't, we live different lives. We see the world differently. Therefore, we're gonna have different outcomes to what you think works for everybody. And the way the word healthy is so different between races, nobody takes that into account. If you're black, it's much more harsher than if you were white or a non-black person. So fat people being considered healthy is different in across races, especially given the fact that black bodies are different than non-black bodies. Therefore, they're treated way harsher than non-blacks. Cause the BMI test paints everybody as you should be to this spot. They paint the whole population as you should aim for this goal, when we're all different. We're all made up differently, especially if you're black, because the different body size, da 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 da. Fat people have more variety in those categories. So to paint everybody in the same stroke is very harmful. So most often, all the time, fat people are being told that they're overweight, that they're being told, I guess, overweight by the standard of the BMI test. Okay, they're overweight, they're still healthy. Now what? And then with them being told that they're overweight, they're not even given the same medical care as they would be getting if they were skinny. And then you add the fact that they're black, it's just double the oppression, because they already don't care for you because you're fat, and then they don't care for you because you're fat and black, and it's just it just gets worse. Like, do you know the amount of times the fat black people go to the doctors with pain that does nothing to do with their weights or with their weight issues, and then they get told, have you tried to lose weight? Nigga, I came in with a sprained ankle. Fuck does that have to do with losing weight? I came in with a headache. And of course things are interconnected, but my headache, my ankle don't got shit to do with my fatness. Nigga, I fell. Like they just dismiss you once they see that you're fat and black. And then you add the layer of being a fat woman. You add a layer of being a fat disabled person. You add a layer of being a fat non-man. You add a layer of being a fat LGBTQ plus. Like, it just keeps getting worse. And y'all, I'm gonna put there's two TikToks that I'm gonna put in. I don't know where.
Mentioned, some people have eating disorders. That's a literal mental illness. That's not about size at all. It's a mental illness. It's how you see your.
So this creator is claiming that eating disorders have nothing to do with fatphobia, which is a lie, especially for eating disorders that focus on restrictive eating and weight loss. A very common symptom is actually body dysmorphia. So our mind is warping the way that we actually perceive our bodies, and we often fear that projection. And a lot of times that projection that we fear is a fat body, and we're willing to destroy ourselves in order to run away from that projection of a fat body. So clearly, once again, rooted in fat phobia. Also, a big part of recovering from eating disorder is also moving past fat phobia, acknowledging that as you recover, you're going to gain weight. And for a lot of people with eating disorders, that also means becoming fat. So definitely do more research when you kind of speak on that. And that first creator that she is stitching is right. The fear of being fat is rooted in fat phobia. I'll do a part 2 to talk more about this. Thank you guys so much for engagement. I'm really happy that I got to start this really important conversation around eating disorders. A comment that I've heard a few times is that, well, folks with eating disorders are suffering from a mental health issue and therefore shouldn't really be held accountable for the ways that we uphold and perpetuate fat phobia. As someone who has an eating disorder and is recovering, of course, eating disorders are based on issues of anxiety, sometimes depression, control, and we should be held accountable for our actions as individuals and the way that we actively harm fat people, especially if you're a thin person with eating disorder. A great example of this are Twitter pages that are pro-anorexia that literally find fat people on the internet, harass them, and post them as thinspiration to encourage other people with eating disorders to starve themselves by literally hating this fat person. That is so violent. There is nothing about our mental health issue that forces us to do that. So those are just various ways that we can uphold fat phobia. And because we're individuals, we are responsible not only for ourselves in our healing and growing to dismantle that, but also in the ways we treat others.
But as you're gonna see, I just found out that there's like pages of where people with eating disorders post fat people as thinspo. Like, they post fat people so they can continue their eating disorder. Like, they see fat people and are like, oh my god, that is so disgusting. I don't want to ever look like that. So they go and whatever eating disorder it is, they go and contribute. They go and participate. And it's just like, I didn't know those things existed. Imagine being an insecure fat person and seeing that. Like, imagine how traumatized, how scarred you're gonna be, and then you fall into the trap of an eating disorder because you saw other people having an eating disorder because of how fat you are. Like, does that make sense to you? Like, I don't know if it made sense coming out of my mouth, but it's just so wild that those things exist. And then people sit here and tell me, oh, it's a mental illness. It doesn't have to do with anything, with one's size, one's body. It's just my issue. No. I mean, yes, it can be individualistic, but it's also a systemic issue that you're also participating in. Just like racism, it's individual, yes, but also systemic. Like, you can't separate those two things into being, oh, it's only an issue that I'm perpetrating. It's only an issue that I have. I'm the only contributor to this. I'm only hurting myself. You're hurting other people. You're hurting other fat people. And it's so wild to me how people are living in denial, and it literally pisses me off. It pisses me off that they're sitting here talking about, no, it's my mental illness, da, da, da. I do nothing to contribute. It's not me. I think everybody is beautiful in their own ways, except for fat people. Except for fat people, is silent because they don't want to seem mean. They don't want to seem fat phobic because it's not trendy, but they want to be politically correct, if you know what I'm saying, while mentally, not even subconsciously, because I don't know, it's not subconscious at that point when you're just when you're starving yourself because you don't want to be fat. Like, so my whole thing is that I want people to be honest with themselves. Like, I want people to be honest with themselves and say that, yes, my eating disorder is rooted in mental illness, if you want to say that. It's rooted in mental illness, and it's rooted in fat phobia. Like, I want people to be honest, I guess. Like, that's where my video, my TikTok video came about, and just the whole point of this video, I guess, is be honest with yourself. Like, honestly say that you hate fat people. Like, even you as a fat person, you can have internalized fat phobia. It's not that hard to guess since we live in a society that actively hates fat people. Like, look at the way that our world is set up. Look at the clothes that fat people don't get. Look at the way we're perpetrated in media. Whenever they want to hate on somebody, they exaggerate how fat somebody can be, or they use like the word fat negatively, like fat ass, all that stuff. Like, look at the way that diet culture is so violent. Like, so violent. No, but like just a couple months ago, I really didn't even start thinking about fat phobia and in eating disorders until like recently. Like, I tweeted out how I was like, when it hit me, like, some people hate fat people so much that they participate in dangerous procedures and just dangerous things, or they actually just try to, end their life because they have a fear of being fat, because they think fat people are disgusting. Like, that's what it all boils down to, because they want to be liked by society. So if they are fat, they will no longer be liked by society. And then it all goes back to fat phobia. It all goes back to beauty standards, and how the beauty standard is still a thin body. The beauty standard is still a thin white body. So it's a crazy, no, I don't want to use that word. It's a wild realization that I came about just a few months ago. And I get that some people are behind, realizing this, and I hope that this video serves as a stepping stone into you realizing how you participate in fat phobia. If you happen to have an eating disorder, if you're thin, if you're fat and you have internalized fat phobia and all of that stuff, I hope that this video serves as a stepping stone into you realizing that. But I just hope that as a society, especially on TikTok, because y'all are so freaking weird. Y'all are so freaking dangerous, especially against fat people, fat black people. Like, y'all will see, my mind is going 20 miles per hour, 40 miles, no, not 40, that's a little slow, 120 miles per hour, and I just keep losing my train of thought. But these people on TikTok, they be seeing a skinny person, and they're like, wow, I'm not gonna eat today. And they are the same size as the person in the video. And y'all really want to tell me that that isn't rooted in fat phobia? Like, of course we can say it's body dysmorphia, but where does body dysmorphia stem from? Like, you guys can't sit here and tell me that you don't willingly know what you're doing, because y'all participate in fat phobia. Like, it's okay, you can say it. I think we'll have a better discussion if we move past the denial and start moving towards acceptance, self-reflection of how you perpetrate fat phobia. Yeah. I really don't know much more to say. I didn't write anything down. I was just saying whatever came to my mind. But I really want to have more discussions around fatness. I really want to read more about the construction of fatness, and especially from a black person's point of view. So I'm gonna be doing more research, more reading onto that, and then bringing on dialogue onto my YouTube, because y'all see me, I'm fat and black, so why wouldn't I want to discuss that? Yeah, hopefully in a few more videos I'll come back and discuss more about fatness, because we really need to start the dialogue. I don't know if I'm gonna discuss about body positivity movement, or just the connection of fatness and blackness together. But hopefully I'll do those videos soon. But yeah, y'all, I hope I didn't ramble on too much and didn't make any sense. I hope you guys at least had a takeaway from this video, because I really wanted to say something. I don't know. But if you guys enjoyed my video, oh, Eid Mubarak. Like, I'm filming it on Eid, but y'all finna watch it on Saturday. But either way, Eid Mubarak to all my Muslims. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed my video, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below something you want to contribute to this video. Continue the dialogue. If I said something that didn't make sense or that made sense, let me know. Make sure you subscribe if you have not. It would mean so much to me. You know, maybe try to hit 500 by the end of this year. Yeah, and I'll see you guys next time, hopefully. Bye.